My name is Adrienne Boire, and I'm a neuro-oncologist and a physician scientist at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. I was working at Memorial Sloan Kettering on the neuro-oncology wards, and I was caring for a woman who had leptomeningeal metastasis from breast cancer. In my laboratory, we study how cancer cells live in the spinal fluid, and we study how do cancer cells enter into the space, and we study why do our current therapies not work in that space. One big question in leptomeningeal metastasis is how on earth do cancer cells get into that space, right? Because it's so protected and so sequestered. Neuropathologists have thought about this at length for many years, and they came up with some kind of proposed routes of entry for cancer cells to gain access to the spinal fluid. And one of those routes is through a structure in the brain called the choroid plexus. This is a brain, it's a model. So the brain is life-size, and the meninges would be covering the brain and the spinal cord. The spinal fluid within the leptomeningeal space is actually generated deep inside the brain. So if we open up this model, this is all brain tissue. This is a connection between the two halves of the brain called the corpus callosum, and then inside here is a pocket. It's a little empty space, and it's called a ventricle. Inside this ventricle, there's this pink little structure here, and this pink little structure is the choroid plexus. This is the structure that generates spinal fluid. This structure is what we believe allows cancer cells to gain access to the spinal fluid. So tumor cells that are in the blood, they'll circulate throughout the body, and when the blood enters into the choroid plexus, we think that the cancer cells trick the choroid plexus into allowing them to gain access to this space. Leptomeningeal just tells us where the metastasis is going. So this means that the cancer that we study is cancer that started elsewhere in the body and ended up going into the leptomeningeal space. There are kind of three major types of cancer that tend to lead to leptomeningeal metastasis. And those are breast cancer, lung cancer, and melanoma. My lab really focuses on those three major types of cancer. With the Pershing Square Sohn Prize, we will be investigating how cancer cells enter into the leptomeningeal space. When we understand kind of the molecular roadmap for this activity, then we're able to block it. If we can block it, we can prevent leptomeningeal metastasis from happening in the first place.